We have to be honest. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition failed. When 2nd Edition AD&D came out, we stole well over 90% of their player base right away. No matter how good the Dungeon Master's Guide was for AD&D First Edition, it produced a very small number of actually good DMs. The vast majority of AD&D DMs were not really good at running these games whatsoever. All the negative stereotypes that you hear about old school game masters, it all comes from AD&D First Edition DMs. The people that designed the game were in the same mindset as a minority of people in the hobby at the time. And so they made a game that really catered to a minority instead of worrying about the majority. And when the majority made it very clear that they did not like the overkill grindy aspects of AD&D First Edition, for years the company didn't listen. When they got desperate, they brought it 2nd Edition, telling DMs, do whatever you want, keep people at the table. Just that's all you got to do, is keep people at the table. But I get it. AD&D First Edition has a cult following that has remained around for decades. It hasn't really grown, it just has a cult following. When the OSR came out, it grasped onto the OSR, and the OSR became just like TSR. Another mechanism to produce and push a game the majority of players back in the day outright rejected. AD&D First Edition is the reason the majority of D&D players left D&D before WotC ever brought out 3rd Edition. They were already on their way to Pendragon, World of Darkness, Millennium, and if you ask them why, well, they don't like the old grindy aspect from AD&D First Edition. I mean, us 2nd Edition guys were new to the scene, there was only so many of us, and we could only take on so many players. I was maxed out, so was every other 2nd Edition DM. We had tables full and tables waiting. And why was it so plentiful? Why was it so easy for 2nd Edition DMs to get players? Well, because we had all the 1st Edition players that simply ran away the 2nd Edition showed up on the scene. And I got to tell you, the 1st Edition AD&D guys today, they hate these facts from the past. They don't like them because it paints a picture that they don't even want to think is true. They are in love with the game and they think it's the best thing since sliced bread. And I get it. But it's the best thing for a minority. And you can see it destroying the OSR. Oh, the OSR game designers that are making games to cater to these guys, they'll make a bit of money, for sure. But they leave 90% on the table because the majority that are interested in the OSR still don't want, what was rejected back in the 80s. And if you don't really believe that, look at Shadowdark. The second a OSR game is brought out that isn't leaning towards AD&D First Edition, instantly a surplus of people signed up for that game that people didn't even know that were around the OSR. I'm like, they've been here the entire time, but you're still serving the minority instead of the majority. Well, the OSR game designers aren't changing the core gameplay that people didn't like. It's just like host-ruled versions of these games with some other add-ons, but the gameplay that was rejected in the 80s, that exact gameplay remains intact the way it always has been. And the OSR will shrink away like TSR did. It will get desperate at times, but it will sooner or later shrink away. That's just how it is. Like it or not, AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, First Edition, is a failed tabletop role-playing game. It failed with the market. It failed with the audience. It definitely failed, overwhelmingly failed, with the players. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, right? Second Edition didn't fail. That's it, right? It didn't fail. That's the big difference. Second Edition can still produce greatness today, where First Edition still just offers you gameplay that you don't want. I mean, that's... And you could be angry about that if you're pro First Edition AD&D. Like, I get it. To you, that is real D&D. Well, it wasn't to the majority. Anyway, for now, take care.